The Sultanate continues its celebrations of His Majesty's safe return as His Majesty receives cables of greetings on the occasion. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Supreme Commander, issues a royal pardon to a number of prisoners convicted of different cases. And the safe return of His Majesty the Sultan to the dear country echoes through the Arab, Gulf and local media sources overwhelmingly. Good evening. Oman is rejoicing the pleasure of the return of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the leader of the process of prosperity, with feelings of happiness as he is in good health. And now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Supreme Commander, has issued a royal pardon to a number of prisoners convicted of different cases. They were 246 prisoners, including 78 foreign prisoners. His Majesty the Supreme Commander's royal pardon coincides with the safe return of His Majesty to the country. May Allah protect His Majesty and grant him good health, happiness and long life. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of greetings from His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah, Emir of Kuwait, on the safe return of His Majesty to the homeland.
نود أن نوجه تحية تقدير وإعزاز إلى كل العاملين من أجل عمان ورقيها في جميع القطاعات المدنية والعسكرية والأمنية.
Rejoicing the safe return of His Majesty the Sultan, His Excellency Syed Badr bin Saud bin Harib Al Busaidi, Minister responsible for Defence Affairs, gave a statement on the occasion. He said that happiness and joy covered all parts of the dear homeland, and citizens were profoundly delighted for the happy return of His Majesty to this beloved country, praying to Almighty to bestow upon His Majesty good health, happiness and long life. His Excellency added that this historical event will be an immortal day in the glorious Omani history. He said that all segments of the society expressed their loyalty and allegiance to their leader, His Majesty the Sultan, who renewed the glory of Oman and built its modern renaissance. This great event reminded them of His Majesty's arrival in Muscat on the 23rd of July 1970, declaring a new dawn for Oman and its people. His Excellency, the Minister responsible for Defence Affairs, expressed his honour to extend sincere greetings and best wishes to His Majesty, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, on behalf of all personnel of the Ministry of Defence, Sultan's Armed Forces and victorious Firaq Forces, affirming that they will be forever loyal to His Majesty and protect the country's achievements. His Excellency, the Minister responsible for Defence Affairs, concluded his statement by praying to Almighty Allah to continue bestowing on His Majesty health, happiness and long life, and protect Oman to remain an oasis of peace and security. His Excellency Lieutenant General Hassan bin Mohsen bin Salim Al-Sharaiki, Inspector General of Police and Customs, expressed his profound happiness and those of all personnel of Royal Oman Police on the happy return of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, Supreme Commander to the country. They thanked the Almighty for bestowing on His Majesty good health, pledging to follow the wise leadership of His Majesty and safeguard the achievements of the country, praying to Almighty to protect His Majesty and bestow upon him His blessings. He also said in his statement that the Royal Oman Police personnel is part of this loyal people and shared the same feelings of love to His Majesty the Sultan in recognition of his sacrifice and achievement of prosperity to Oman and its people. His Excellency, the Inspector General of Police and Customs, concluded his statement by thanking the Almighty Allah for bestowing upon His Majesty good health to continue the victorious march and pledging to follow His Majesty's wise leadership and visions and protect the security of this beloved country and its dear people. Coinciding with the safe return of His Majesty the Sultan to the country, citizens in various governorates of the Sultanate organised processions of gratitude, praying to Almighty Allah to protect His Majesty and endow him with good health, happiness and long life. In the Wilaya of Sur, citizens took to the streets with the Sultanate's flag, hoisting as traditional bands, singing arts, cheering, sincere greetings and best wishes to His Majesty, the beloved leader, guardian of this country and its people. Oman, the country, and Sultan Qaboos are correlated with people's doctrine, where the blessed Renaissance had crystallized based on the national values, social principles and historical constants. More details in the following report read by Abdullah Al-Rubai.
Oman, the country, Sultan Qaboos are dual correlative in people doctrine, where the blessed Renaissance had crystallized based on the national values set up, social principles and historical constants. Those were crystallized by royal thought in its highest degree and continuously witnessed for by history of aspirations, justice, equality, wise rule and fatherly truthfulness, as His Majesty addresses his people by telling them, people of Oman are in the heart. A newborn whose happiness is drawn in warm reception, which reflects the essence of qualitative relation and its spatial characteristics between His Majesty Sultan Qaboos and the citizens as they live historical moments that were achieved after being awaited for the arrival in a unique interaction between people and the beloved leader of the return to the homeland Oman, enjoying good health and well-being. National recall of the first moment of the blessed Renaissance that was led by His Majesty. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos gave utmost care for Omani people by providing complete and actual value in the domestic rule approach and putting up development systems in line with the fair principles based on accurate vision that noted originality and modernization and based on reading derived from the past and necessity of the present to achieve noble goals for building the country, individual and society dignity for the bright future. The royal will was formulated for finding Omani people who carry a message believing in historical principles and with aim to venture into a balanced approach to build the country's future based on scientific and development vision. His Majesty's belief in human resources as an active instrument for success of comprehensive sustainable development as a guarantee for a better future. Citizens valued the royal desire, which geared citizens to form scientific and practical foundations to raise up the level of prosperity, and the state's basic law had drawn systems based on principles of dignity, justice and equality. At a time when Oman presented a world-class experience in domestic rule, relation between the ruler and citizens proved feasibility. His Majesty reiterated Oman's abidance by the approach that is based on support for rights, justice, peace, security, tolerance and law, beside calls for strengthening global cooperation against instability, to increase growth and prosperity, and to deal with the reasons of tension in international relations by finding lasting and fair solutions for worsening problems in order to strengthen coexistence among nations based on joint human principles that are looking towards institutionalized system capable of presenting model societies in modern states. Observers described Omani stand as an instrumental international character, extending bridges of cultural, social and economic civilizational partnership in a world that is full of disputes. It came at a time the royal thought alarmed about what is awaiting societies of negative influences. The Omani opinion came early to study reasons of extremisms and to treat the reasons that push towards it, to support and stimulate human ties based on approach cemented by Omani experience since the start of the rule of His Majesty. Omani citizens during the glorious reign found the way towards a humane concept of human rights and international relations under the umbrella of security, stability and safe life in a transformation.
What happened in Oman in the last 40 years is more or less a miracle. 1970, there was nothing in Oman, there were no roads. I transferred a patient from Samail Hospital following a road traffic accident in a pickup on a Gargara road to Khawla Hospital. It took me 2.5 hours with an unconscious, critically ill patient. Now, the patient from Samail or Nizwa comes to Khawla in less than an hour. To me, that is a big development and achievement that I don't think has happened anywhere in the world.
Under his leadership, His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, Oman has become one of the leading countries in terms of education and higher education. Today, I am proud to say we have many teachers and many doctors and many professors as well as intellectuals.
Citizens in the Wilaya of Nakhal in the Governorate of South Batna organized a procession of allegiance and gratitude on the safe return of His Majesty the Sultan to the country. More details in the following report with Saif bin Khalfan Al-Kindi.
The loyalty procession in the Wilaya of Nakhal started from Nakhal Fort, where hundreds of citizens and residents gathered in the field of the fort, moving across the modern houses and projects in a picture of significant loyalty. Here's a group of tourists from Poland coming to take part in the resident celebrations.
I would like to say this day is a great experience and adventures for us to see this ceremony. Great day for us too.
Ja 2 lata temu byłem, jak również Sultan Qaboos.
I am from Poland. I love Oman, and it is my second visit because I love this country. By chance, during my visit to Nakhal, I found a lovely ceremony for the return of His Majesty.
Uczestniczyć po części w waszym święcie, w waszych obchodach.
An English teacher teaching in the Wilaya of Nakhal with a group of his students, sharing them his gratitude and happiness and full of joy. He said,
Actually, it was a great occasion. As you see, I can't express this happy occasion. All the people here are happy. We are happy. It was nice and it was great case and event.
the march witnessed a huge number of jubilant people expressing their happiness and gratitude, and taking to the street flags and pictures of His Majesty in a lovely show of rejoice.
This is a big surprise to us. When we arrived Nakhal, we found people enjoying the return of His Majesty. It's a great opportunity for us, and we are very involved in it and feel grateful.
School children and women also participated in the procession, conveying their feelings and gratitude after the return of His Majesty the Sultan. Local bands performed traditional songs and dances during the procession, and the participants expressed an outpouring of joy in a strong relationship of respect between His Majesty and the people. Saif Al-Kindi for English News, Nakhal.
the Governorate of Dhofar, happiness prevailed for the return of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos safe and sound, and the citizens expressed their pleasure, renewing allegiance and gratitude to His Majesty. A number of Arab and international channels aired the news of the safe return of His Majesty via their news bulletins. The 23rd of March 2015 will be registered in the memory of each Omani citizen living on the soil of beloved Oman. Gulf and international channels aired the auspicious arrival. Qatari television mentioned in its official news bulletin the return of His Majesty to the Sultanate after completing his medical program in Germany. Bahraini television broadcasted the statement of the Diwan of Royal Court of Oman, which affirmed the good medical results of His Majesty, which was crowned with success, and that he is safe and sound. QAT television broadcasted the cable of greetings sent by His Highness Amir Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah to his brother His Majesty the Sultan on the occasion of his return to Oman. Al Jazeera channel also stressed in its news that His Majesty the Sultan returned to his country after 8 months of treatment in Germany. The news of the auspicious return of His Majesty the Sultan topped the first pages of local newspapers and many Gulf, Arab and international newspapers. Oman newspapers titled its first page as "Oman's sky is brightened by Qaboos." It wrote that his return is a historical day coupled with sincere national feelings of love and allegiance to the builder of Oman modern renaissance, and it is a remarkable event recorded to Oman glorious days. Al-Watan newspaper titled its first page as "Crowned with complete health, His Majesty returns to the country." It further wrote, as soon as the aircraft landed, processions of happiness and gratitude commenced, along with a unified prayer of thanks to Almighty Allah for the safe return. Al-Shabiba newspaper wrote, "Oman shines with the royal glare," whereas Al-Roya newspaper wrote, "His Majesty completes his medical program successfully and returns to his country crowned with health and safety." Al-Zamam newspaper entitled its first page with "Thanks to Almighty Allah," adding that gratitude is attributed to Allah for his return to the country. Arabic newspapers such as London Life newspaper wrote, "Arrival of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos to Muscat after treatment in Germany," and it was the most read topic on its website. Middle East newspaper of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia wrote, "Sultan Qaboos returns to Oman after a treatment journey lasted for 8 months, and that Sultan Qaboos was shown on television. Descending from the plane unassisted and no reception protocols were done at the airport, and that His Majesty seemed in good health." Al-Raya newspaper of Qatar entitled this topic as "A turning point on the life of Omani nation," portraying his return as the return of the spirit to the body, and was a good news to brothers of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Al-Bayan newspaper of the United Arab Emirates shared the Omani nation their joy and said Sultan Qaboos arrives after a successful treatment journey.
His Majesty's reign in 1970 changed Oman's image. We had nothing promising then, while we presently have everything progressing to make us proud of our Sultan, our country, and our immense achievements.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, it's our pride to have a leader who has transformed Oman into a nation where his people are empowered to be globally competitive in many areas such as education, human resources, and even industry nowadays. I'm proud also that many women like me works in different sectors such as engineering, lawyer, agriculture, architects, and medicine and business as well.
In the Walaya of Hamad, the Governorate of Worcester, the citizens organized a loyalty and gratitude procession rejoicing the return of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos to the country. During the march, these citizens sang songs of happiness while carrying portraits of His Majesty and the Omani flags. It was accompanied by a number of Omani singing arts. The citizens expressed their sincere greetings and prayed to Almighty Allah to protect His Majesty as the guardian of this country and its people. Coinciding with the safe return of His Majesty the Sultan to the country, school students in various governorates of the Sultanate expressed their joy on this occasion, singing songs of happiness and carrying portraits of His Majesty and the Omani flags, while praying to Almighty Allah to protect His Majesty and endow him with good health, happiness and long life.
Mutlu olun çünkü Sultan Kabus geldi. खुश रहें, Sultan Kabus आ गए हैं.
Furaha hier, Sultan Kabus amekuja.
Seid fröhlich, Sultan Kabus ist gekommen. Tayo ay magsaya. Si Sultan Kabus ay dumating na. Réjouissez-vous, le Sultan Kabus revient.
What we have witnessed in the last 44 years was only possible due to the wise guidance and wisdom of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos. We have seen Oman improving not only in education and health, but in peace and security. We have learned under his leadership to live in peaceful coexistence.
Well, Omanis who have obtained their entire education in Oman or at different universities around the world have taken their places in different areas of civil services to be part in the development process that has been taken in the country and be presented as Renaissance attributes. Along with my colleagues, we would like to thank His Majesties and to say that we are the attributes of this development that has taken place in the country.
An open parliament and direct meetings between the leader and his loyal citizens. The royal tours contributed in breaking the barriers between the leader and people. More in this report read by Huda Al-Jahwari.
An open parliament and direct meetings between the leader and his loyal citizens. This was wanted by His Majesty the Sultan for his royal tours to be. Between vast countryside, remote places, and in all places of beloved Oman, His Majesty, since the dawn of the blessed Renaissance, moved planning and engineering the modern Renaissance of the country by being real close to look into citizens' requirements and aspirations, as well as to spread the spirit of determination and encouragement through royal words, which are considered as inspiration followed in development march for various spheres. The royal tours contributed in breaking the barriers between the leader and people. The leader sits among his loyal citizens in reciprocated love and respect, a gathering whose principles were derived from the spirit of original Omani civilization and its ancient political heritage. From these places, numerous projects came into existence. The projects were sought by citizens and fell on ears for direct implementation for development umbrella to extend on mountain peaks and deep wadis in order for remote places to disappear from Omani modern dictionary. The far away became very near through asphalted roads with high quality of safety, linking Oman with a completed road network. Schools, hospitals and diversified service facilities brought up by citizens to the leader to be translated into existence. The royal tours were not only meeting requirements of the citizens, but also the station's drawing future plan through royal speeches that dwelt on matters without omitting any aspects of them. In a simple Omani sitting, but great in its meaning, His Majesty viewed with citizens economic development plans and domestic and foreign policies. His Majesty's words awakened wills and decisiveness to contribute in building modern Oman, which today realized achievements made Omanis as its target and purpose. And to activate the royal tours in a greater picture, accompanying symposiums were conducted to draw future plans through specified matters being tackled in every tour and to be tabled for transparent discussions in front of all participants, as well as were transmitted via local media channels for more discussions and interactions. These symposiums surpass recommendations to exist into binding decisions for different entities to be implemented, as well as tasking specified bodies to follow up implementation to be also a new venue for new dialogue towards better future for Oman and its promising people.
After the issue of the statement on the safe return of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, social media channels overwhelmed with expressions of gratitude and thanks to Almighty Allah for bestowing on His Majesty good health. The followers of these sites, with their various ages, exchanged greetings and photos of His Majesty the Sultan. Everyone tweeted in his way under various hashtags with more than 130,000 tweets. They expressed the feelings of happiness and affection for their leader, who they missed him for 8 months, in various forms such as poetry and exchanging photos of His Majesty. His Majesty the Sultan has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Prokopis Pavlopoulos of Greece on his country's National Day. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate continues its celebrations of His Majesty's safe return as His Majesty receives cables of greetings on the occasion. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the Supreme Commander, issues a royal pardon to a number of prisoners convicted of different cases. And the safe return of His Majesty to the Sultan to the dear country echoes through the Arab, Gulf and local media sources overwhelmingly. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.